Hello guys, Arcand here. Welcome to another toe dip. This is Ash Boat. This VN was developed by Xianggu Studio, and the story is about spectating a journey of a twin from Erkajĥŋ and uncovering the secrets beneath our point of view. So I like this intro screen. It's very anime vibe, even if it's in Chinese, a Chinese work. So let's check out the story. The Ljev River has four great tributaries, of which the Nador River is the shortest. The Nador flows down Mount Khasurj, takes a sharp turn under Mount Saliz to the west, and reaches the prosperous Krachtin, where the arms of the stone bridge hug the valley 12 times. I cannot pronounce those weird names, I don't know. Anyway, after that, it joins the upper and lower Rjik and continues to flow further west. In the middle reach of the river sits a city with even greater fame than the river itself, Erkajĥŋ. If you catch a boat downstream, you can count the 24 archery towers and measure the 3 miles of cyan-colored wall. You can even feel the echoes between the walls, but beyond the wall, all you can see is the letter tower. If anyone walks through the thick walls, they will eventually reach a well surrounded by buildings that step back around 10 feet, creating a small square. Inside one of the workshops around the square, they can find all the metal or stone craftworks they can think of. No bargaining is necessary, as everyone knows the craftworks are the best in the valley lands. The invincible army of Erkajĥŋ has spread its fame. On any given day, the small square is always noisy. A shop attendant is busy with fruit imports from Erdet. Several caravaneers lean against the wall waiting for their horses to finish drinking. Teenagers game fight each other with blunt wooden swords, and forging sounds can be heard from every direction. Everything swirling up in the mountain fogs as usual. However, today Erkajĥŋ is besieged for the first time in this century. As the walls of Erkajĥŋ resist the Nador River, the well inside the city has become the only source of water for its inhabitants. Every morning, the square fills with people coming for water. But it is well into the daytime when a figure first appears. Nadonka? Nadonkaw? Oh, I'm not sure. I don't really know how to pronounce that. I'm just an hour late, and the square is empty? After more careful examination, he found that the place where the well should be was sealed by a gigantic rock. No one can lift it alone, not even magic wielders. Clearly, the water is reserved for the garrison. Meanwhile, in a twin's house not far from the square, the older one is checking the remaining food, while the younger one... I'm back. Fajer or Fajer? I'm not sure. Any water left? The well is sealed. Alright, should have expected that. Then what should we do? No idea. As if not caring, Fajer shrugged nonchalantly, but then he saw the unsettled expression on his brother's face and thought it was somehow inappropriate to say that, so he grabbed some unground wheat and spent 10 minutes painfully forcing it down. Do not worry too much. Some said they will soon be back. Hopefully it's true. Hopefully. I'm going into the room. I need some rest. Fine. I'll be with you after finish checking. This is originally their cousin's room. Their parents were mobilized many years ago, so they stayed with their grandparents in the countryside. During the drought and the hunger strike, they were taken to their relative's house here. The relatives were abruptly mobilized when the grand turmoil began, so there are only 2 of them in the house now. In the room, the bed is on the left, covered in thick woolen sheets. On the right stands a finely made shelf. Books fill the upper 4 rows of the shelf, with different books on each row. The uppermost row is for unfavored books that he doesn't want to sell. The second row is for tool books such as the speeches of the valley lands. The third row is for his favorite books, and the lowermost row is for his own diaries. The books together weigh more than he does. Across from the door is a window, which is one of the most precious possessions in this house. It is made from two pieces of old wooden planks, and through it, the windows of the neighbors across the street can be seen. Let's just look at him. Oh, that art looks very nice. The house right across the street houses an old lady. She is sitting beside her door, sewing with her fingers through the tangled winter wind. Nobody is sure whom she is sewing for, but she is sizing with marks carved on the door to fit an anonymous tombstone. The lady once had a child named Tronao. I really don't know. For him, every spice had a name to dance to. His body seemed heavier than others, though, especially on rainy days in the summer, as he worshipped the spring. On those days, his eyelids melted in the rainwater, and his skull sank. On the right side across the street, there's a metalsmith workshop. The metalsmith, Sebasir, always starts working very late in the morning. Every time anyone passes by, he smiles to salute them. The wrinkles between his eyebrows squeeze his sweaty fur, making him look terrible. As workloads have sharply increased recently, he feels somehow inferior due to his smoky voice, so he only displays his smile now. He told Nadonkaw, Nadonkaw, I am ready. You know our lives are connected to our deity. Just look at the children running around, the gray one, I mean. On the left side across, the shopkeeper had to break up with his lover due to the turmoil. He now believes that love is cheap, as its production always equals its demand and can never be sold at a good price. In the sky, there's the room of the god, Rolvenau. It's always bright there, so the god opened a window in the sky for us. But besides that, the world is like a dusty painting, put away in the corner of the god's attic. The window seems shattered, and images seen through it always seem broken. Of course, this is true either way. Okay, another perspective change. Looking real handsome. Nadonkaథ walks beside the shelf and picks up the first diary. When he opens the cover, dozens of papers spill out. It's only a couple of days after I glued it up, and it is falling apart again? And then he realized that the glue had been used up. It was literally impossible to buy more during the siege. Everything was in short supply during the siege, except for free time. He slowly aligned the pages together and gently put the diary back on the shelf. They were the most frequently read books for him, to the extent that he didn't need to open those diaries. An ample beam of light already lit up the shadow puppets of reminiscence. He doesn't know when he started writing diaries, but he knows that on the first page of it, some sticky letters formed some sweet words. He speculates that it is to catch the time forgotten by himself. His cradle is broken on some page in the second diary. He was sent to school when mandatory primary education was enforced in Erkajĥŋ, which was definitely unlucky for him. Childhoods in Erkajĥŋ are rushed. Artisans' children are expected to learn needlework or smithery as soon as possible. Merchants' children are expected to learn trading or shopkeeping as soon as possible. Peasants' children are expected to learn farming or ranching as soon as possible, and even officials expect the children to be eligible for recruitment as soon as possible. The innocent chorus fragments in the fierce mountain winds, and the naive faces are peeled off layer by layer. In the end, childhood becomes nothing but chewed seeds of pomegranate. So the education in Erkajĥŋ is also rushed. The teacher had to skip everything for speed. He tried to pull out the thrums and straighten up the threads in the teacher's head, but the schoolmates just couldn't bear it. He remembers those schoolmates. They are the shadows, hidden in the warmth from the breath of the lines. They are not malicious, nor stained with blood or tears, but seeing them makes him tremble and feel disgusted. The deepest shadow is the one with the gray fur. It's the biggest and can cover up all the other shadows. It's protective, and no one dares to hurt it whenever it's around. It comes from Fajer. But after 3 diaries or so, the last of their relatives was sent to the army. He left Fajer with a job and told him to drop out of school. Fajer quietly accepted this arrangement. After that, Fajer would depart eastwards in the morning, but Nadonkaథ walked against the sunlight, falling behind the shadows of his schoolmates, with his raised hand unnoticed by the teacher. In those diaries, the pages that impressed him the most were page 41 and 135 in the second diary, page 22 in the third diary, and so on. On those pages, their parents went home for an excused leave, bringing back stories from the army with them. These pages were far more damaged than the rest. There were several spots that had been rewritten. After all, this was his interest when he was young. He imagined the prosperous Tisby, the fertile soil of Erdet, the boats that covered the surface of the river in Kratchtin, and the artistic atmosphere of Feredenbach. These kinds of pages did not make it into the fifth diary. They were crowded standing in front of the bulletin at first, and then the officials took more and more people away from them. In the end, even those carrier birds in the letter tower were in short supply. He hoped from winter to winter each year, but his hope never healed. He did try to squeeze into the crowds of victory parades, but he never cheered. He went to the letter tower every time he passed by, leaving again only with a sigh in his mouth. There was inflation in his eyes, the trembler in his head, the half-read diary lying on his desk. He felt cruel. Hope wouldn't suffocate in the gore. It would aim at him, making him anxious for mere concepts. How could he modify his own diary? Memories always floated, no matter how hard he tried to suppress them. So he hurried to get distracted, took a random book from the third row, left the shelf, settled his shaking legs, uncovered it, and began to read.